Davante Adams is loving being a Ram. Jared Verse learned his lesson after challenging Aaron Donald, and we'll give tons of other updates on this off-season update episode here on the Rams Up Podcast Network. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Rams Up Podcast Network. I'm Ian. That's Mark. If you're on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the channel. All that helps out the algorithm with other potential Rams and football fans to see our content. And if you're on the podcast or audio-only side of things, share this podcast with all your fellow Rams fans. Any of those options, we very much appreciate it. But Mark, my friend, how you doing? Summer is here. Pretty nice.
Well, yeah, still a lot of June gloom down here, but hey, it's a great
Sure.
day to be in San Diego. Dodgers take 2 out of 3 from the Padres. So
Nice.
a lot of my coworkers are going to be really unhappy tomorrow, but hey, it is what it is. I'll just wear some Dodger blue to remind them.
That's all right, baby. You got the royal blue in your wardrobe, Dodgers and Rams. That's you dress well. You dress well. But a lot of stuff happening within this last week and a half, Rams Nation, as I'm sure everyone in the football universe saw. Outside linebacker Jared Verse challenge Aaron Donald in the weight room as he was on the Adam Schefter podcast. Adam Schefter being the top dog in insider breaking news in the football world. He said, well, yeah, I can outlift Aaron Donald. I can do anything he does. He's not used to these young man workouts. And he said a bunch of other craziness. And Aaron Donald then put out a video and said, all right, Verse, I'm just looking for you. Come down to the house. Let's get a lifting together. And Jared Verse responded and said, I'll be there anytime, any place you let me know. And they got together. And what did Jared Verse have to say? Well, I tried to test the legend in Aaron Donald. And he responded with a workout from hell. Learn my lesson. Respect OG. And Aaron Donald replied, good day's work. Hard work pays off. No letting up. As if you're here on YouTube, you can see the picture that was flashing through all the football universe of Aaron Donald flexing, looking as in shape as any human on planet Earth will ever look. And Jared Verse, big human. He's pretty massive and got a lot of muscle mass himself, but he has that face with a towel around his neck of like, I got my ass kicked today by a legend in the weight room, and what a workout. But you can check out all the fun videos on the line. Aaron Donald's account, the Rams account, I think his Snapchat, he had a lot of separate videos and whatnot. And hey, Jared Verse is working out hard, but as Aaron Donald said, like, this is what I do now that I'm retired. Imagine if I was still playing Verse, as he told him in a little clip. And hey, respect to Verse. He was crazy to do it. Everyone knew it, but he followed through. And anytime you can be around a Rams legend, a future Hall of Famer, one of the best players in the history of American football, Aaron Donald, I think it's a good thing, even though he learned his lesson hard, Mark.
Yeah, I think Jared knew how that was going to end all along. He knew what was coming. And I look at that picture there, and I wonder how many phone calls he's gotten from wrestling organizations. He seemed like he'd be perfect for that, but I also think he's above that.
Yeah, and then outside of this fun little workout routine that Aaron Donald put Jared Verse through, and everyone enjoyed seeing the outcome. Respect to Aaron Donald for mentoring these guys as he did last season, and he will continue to do, as many players I've mentioned, that he's always free and willing to talk with them about football and life in general and all that. So this won't be the last time Jared Verse and Aaron have some, heart-to-heart one-on-ones. Maybe not powerlifting and lifting like madmen, but it's good that Aaron Donald will be a mentor to Jared Verse as long as Jared Verse wants it, and all our other young rookies on the D-line and just anyone on the football team. So with that, Rams Nation, the Rams are like, what a great dude. We're going to honor you, Aaron Donald. A celebration game, they're calling it. Sunday night against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where they'll be giving out a special Aaron Donald bobblehead. I don't know if it'll be like Dodger style or baseball style, where it's like, hey, the first 30,000 people get one, or if it will be a, special extra, little price tag to your ticket. I don't know how that's going to go. I'm sure as we get closer to the season starting, they'll have that info out. But pretty dang cool. And I do hope, Rams Nation, I do hope, Mark, this is maybe the game they retire his number. I think that'd be pretty dang cool if they were to do that then. I mean, if they're going to celebrate him at halftime, I feel like just do the full thing. Everyone will welcome that, I feel, right?
Yeah, and who's going to be there? Michael Brockers will be there, guaranteed. Maybe Chris Long. Bring Chris Long back. Bring back some
That'd
of
be
his
cool.
old buddies.
Get all the OG St. Louis guys, yeah.
Yeah, and as you're talking about, man, I think one of those bobbleheads would look great on this floating shelf behind me. So
I need one too, yeah.
Yeah, if I can't get there, I may have to ask a listener to grab one for me, maybe.
Yep, I'll see if I can snag two, Mark. I'll try to go to. I was going to try to go to this game anyway, but I'll try to. I'll be like, yo, Rams Up Podcast, help us out, man. I need my partner. He needs one. But pretty dang cool.
That's a night game, right?
Yeah, it's a Sunday night game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that'll be a primetime game for the world to see. And again, that will be late in the second half of the season. That's a November 23rd game. So hopefully the Rams are not getting flexed out of that game for some BS injuries. They suck or whatever else. So hopefully it'll mean a lot for the celebration game and then for the world to see as well against Tampa Bay, who I think will be a playoff team and win the division themselves. So Aaron Donald changing lives, kicking people's ass in the weight room, and being celebrated by the Rams even only a couple years after retirement. Pretty dang cool. Shout out to AD, forever a legend. And speaking of just other, legendary things that could have happened during, this last couple months, or I guess during the draft, it's been a little bit while since then. It's been long speculated that the Rams were trying to trade up with the Carolina Panthers for T-Mac, Tetairoa McMillan, as in the most recent behind-the-scenes draft video from the Carolina Panthers, and it seems every team's doing some behind-the-scenes work, which is pretty dang cool. I enjoy all the content outside of just Hard Knocks and what we do with our own media team. The Panthers put out a video of their draft week, and they shared a lot of, very, very telling clips of their phone calls between themselves with other teams, and then specifically our team, the Los Angeles Rams, for that number 8 overall pick. As shout out to the Rams brothers, friends of the podcast, and they have a great podcast themselves. They had Jordan Rodriguez on within the last week and some change, and they did ask, like, hey, was that legit? Like, they were really trying to go up there for T-Mac, as The Athletic, who she works for, reported. Other reporters reported on that, and she's like, yep, they were trying to get Tetairoa McMillan. And we originally thought, when that news dropped on draft day, and we talked about it, Mark, Rams Nation, if you were tuning in then and remember, I was convinced they were trying to get a tight end. And yes, they'd end up getting a tight end with their first pick in the second round, Ferguson from Oregon. But, McVay's been trying to trade up for a tight end for a gazillion years in a row, it feels like, right? Brock Bowers, Dalton Kincaid, now who's with Buffalo. And I just feel like they were trying to get some tight end. Now, who was going to be? I know there's rumors it was going to be Ferguson in the first round, but I felt like it was going to be tight end. But to hear Jordan confirm that it was T-Mac, to hear the Panthers say, hey, if you want this number 8 overall pick, we're asking for a lot. And Panthers GM Dan Morgan said he did ask for a king's ransom, hoping that the Rams would walk away, because they did want T-Mac, who they ended up drafting. And, Les Snead and co. and Sean McVay said, we want him. We didn't want him that bad. And it didn't end up happening. But Mark, Rams Nation, what a trip. They really, according to Jordan, who we trust from The Athletic, our team reporter who does a great job finding out the nitty-gritty, they really wanted another wide receiver. Wow. After we already signed Devante, already re-signed Tutu to a $10 million deal, already have Puka, Jordan Whittington we all love, and who's making plays right now during OTAs. What a trip that they were going to do that.
Yeah, this guy better be lights out if for McVay's sake. It's going to be a really bad look if this guy doesn't turn into an all-pro, offering as much as they did. And you could tell, you watching that video, the Panthers were just praying the Rams walked away. They asked for a king's ransom, but they really still didn't want the king's ransom. They were hoping the Rams turned it down, because they wanted to draft this guy really badly too. They might have asked for $1 billion and still hoped that the Rams turned it down. They wanted this guy bad. It's going to be interesting to see if he turns out to be all that, because there was mixed opinions on him in the draft. Early on in the draft cycle, he was clear number one. And then, as always happens, he started to drop a little bit. Then they were talking late first round. He doesn't get the separation, this and that. I think a lot of teams just try to smear guys they like. That's what
Yeah.
happens every year, right?
Yeah, for
I'd
sure.
love to see, see if he turns out to be this good.
We'll see. I mean, look, we know how this goes. When players get drafted, organizations that are dysfunctional and don't have a track record of routinely being successful, a la Carolina Panthers, who knows what he could be if things go south. But there are a team that played some good football at the end of the year, so if they keep that going, then things should, in theory, be better. But let's be honest: if he joined the Rams, it would work. Let's just be honest. McVay would get him open. His skill set is very similar to Puka Nacua, right? Bigger. I mean, not as maybe physical in terms of like running people over like Nacua does, but bigger body, acrobatic catches, good hands, can run crispy routes. I had a first round grade on them. So to trade up, though, I am glad it didn't work out, because what did we get in return, Rams? Oh, yeah, we got Atlanta's future first round pick to potentially get a quarterback that McVay wants to get. If Stafford, rides off into the sunset this year with the Lombardi Trophy, if all things go right, it worked out better. It's always these Panther trades, though, Rams Nation, Mark, that don't end up happening. They end up benefiting this team, right? Tried to trade a ton of capital to Carolina for Christian McCaffrey. We got outbid by the 49ers. Well, the season in 2022 was a disaster. So how bad would that trade have been if we would have forfeited a bunch of draft picks that ended up being Byron Young, Kobe Turner, and other guys, right? When we tried to trade 2 first-round picks for Brian Burns, how would that have went when the season was going to ultimately be a disaster in 2022? Well, we used those picks to get other fantastic players and accumulate to other future first-round picks now that we're using for a potential young quarterback, next year's draft, maybe, or beyond. So, thank you for Braden Fisk, Carolina Panthers. But we're glad those other crazy first-round trades didn't go through, and I think we will look back at this and say, thank you, Carolina Panthers, for turning this trade down as well. And I think I think that'll end up being the case. But, man, T-Mac.
Yeah, I agree.
Rams. And he's from Southern California. He went to Servite High School out here in Orange County, part of D1 football here in the greater LA OC area. So, it would have been a fun fit for him to be like, return home and play.
Yeah.
We would have been excited for that. But, oh, well, that's an alternate timeline we don't live in. And shout out to Jordan for confirming that with the Rams brothers. It's pretty crazy. Wow. I am shocked. But I still think tight end deep down. I can't get off that. But, oh, well.
Yeah.
Oh, well. But other fun news, Rams Nations, that if you didn't hear or you're not a rap fan and all that, Lil Wayne shouted out the Rams, shouted out Coach McVay in his most recent album. And you can check out the song, check out his album for all you, the Carter Anthology album fans out there that are Lil Wayne fanatics. These shouts at McVay. And I'm not going to play the song on here. I'm not going to say the lyrics for any copyright issues that we want to avoid. So go ahead and find it, listen to it. But pretty cool. The Rams are making waves, successful franchise. McVay being a great coach. We're getting he's getting shouted out by legends now in the rap game. And I think, back in the day, it was always like the basketball guys in the 90s and so forth would be like, yo, if a rapper shouts you out, you're legit. Well, hey, whatever rapper shouts out a football player or a head coach, are you pretty legit? I think so too, Mark.
Yeah, I know my special assistant, my son, is going to be really excited if he hasn't heard this yet. He's a big Lil Wayne fan. So yeah, I had plenty of parental drives listening to Lil Wayne on the way to basketball tournaments and such. So,
nice.
I'm a little familiar with him.
Heck yeah! Shout out to your son. He'll be excited to hear all this for sure. But again, won't play the song on here, everyone. Apologies on that. No copyright with the music stuff if it's not original that we did ourselves. So check out his album. Go through it, have fun with it, and see if you can catch the McVay bar that's in there. And it's a quick little one, but it's fun. He talks about McVay well in that song. So speaking of McVay, though, Rams Nation and all that, and shout out to Jordan Rodriguez yet again for putting out another banger of an article. And she always does such a fantastic job getting very captivating and very emotionally driven, just fantastic pieces of writing. Honestly, I don't know how else to describe it. It's really, really good. So if you haven't seen Jordan's and read Jordan Rodriguez's recent album, excuse me, well, it feels like an album after reading it, but a recent article on The Athletic talking about McVay's struggles with the 2022 campaign, how things after winning the Super Bowl weren't so great, the passing of his grandfather, trying to find his football soul and rejuvenate himself, and how we all saw it at the end of that Week 18 loss against the Seattle Seahawks. You know, Baker Mayfield's final game as a Ram, where we gave them a good fight. We would have won. We would have kept them out of the playoffs, but, you know, we end up losing late. And how we all saw how defeated he looked. And we all were like, oh, he's going to leave coaching. And we're pretty sure about that, right, Mark? We talked about it then, and we're like, this is not good. This is not good. He's going to leave.
Yeah.
So in this article, as you can see here pictured, if you're tuning on YouTube, there's a little excerpt from The Athletic, from Jordan's great article. That voicemail was an outstretched hand to a broken man. Chris Peterson, the former Boise State head coach, Washington head coach, has become a mentor, confident friend, and advisor to McVay as the young coach worked his way out of what he calls the hardest year of his life. And I won't go too deep into all the nitty-gritty. It's worth a read. It's worth getting, you know, engulfed in the art of this article and storytelling. But what I learned from this, Mark, is that Chris Peterson saved McVay's coaching life. Sincerely. That one call to let him know that, hey, I've been through this. Let's get through it. Let me do what I can, talk him through it. It saved, you know, the Rams era with McVay. It did. And
Yeah.
I'm happy about that, man.
Yeah, and you got to shout out to Peterson. I mean, it takes a really special person to take the time to reach out like that, to recognize what's going on, a guy that he doesn't know,
Yeah.
and to take the time to reach out and say, "Hey, man, this is what you got to do. You can right your ship. It's all going to be okay." And you know, we're all the beneficiaries of it. But you know, getting
Yeah.
down to the meat of it, it's Peterson being an outstanding human being, really,
Yeah.
to take the time to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Peterson saw himself and McVay in that end of game press conference against Seattle. He's like, that was me a couple years ago. And he recognized it immediately. And again, if it wasn't for him, who knows where the state of the Rams would be? Would McVay even be coaching? Would he have bailed to Amazon and be enjoying it there? Would he have done it for a year and came back? I mean, who knows? But no doubt about it, he would have been gone in 2023, and Raheem Morris would have been our head coach. And who knows how that would have went? Probably still would have been a good team, but you know, would the ceiling have been as great as it could have been or could be? Probably not. Let's just be honest. So read that article and be grateful for Chris Peterson, former Boise State legend, former Washington Huskies, you know, Final Four-esque team that he led that program to a good spot, for saving McVay's coaching Rams tenure, sincerely, and how it's made Sean McVay a better coach, a better human. And he talks about all that, of how, you know, grinding nature of coaching, the grinding nature of how impersonal it could be with, you know, how transactional players and coaches come and go so much, and just how he's handling all that so much better. And please read that article from Jordan Rodriguez. It's fantastic. And shout out to Peterson again, saving the Rams McVay era. Thank you, Peterson. I tip my imaginary hat to you.
We should have a Chris Peterson celebration day.
We should. If we win another Lombardi very soon, we absolutely should. And I'm sure he'll be there partying with us. Bring him on. He's a much a part of it if that happens, for sure. And fantastic. But with that, Rams Nation, Rams OTAs are coming to a close, as McVay and others had their final press conference within the last couple of days. And gosh, it went by so fast, Mark. What a trip. What a trip. But Coach McVay did talk about how Davante Adams is still kicking ass, how great he is on and off the field, as we did mention, how players did bring him up. But he said the rapport that him and Matthew are building together, getting to learn each other, he's having so much fun watching it. He's having such a great joy learning from Devante as well, and just how much of a stud he says. And when McVay calls a player a stud, you know he loves them, no matter who it is. Our players, players that are on other teams, people. McVay, if you hear stud come out of McVay's mouth about anybody, they're legit, they're awesome, they're amazing, and it's glad to hear that. Moving on from Cooper Kupp and getting Devante and those things coming out of their mouths, from our head coach and others, that's pretty dang good.
Yeah, and it's really allaying my fears. You have it in the back of your mind, you have this concern, he's getting up there in years too. Is he going to
Yeah.
take it? Has he lost half a step? But the what he's bringing to this team in so many other ways, the experience, and he's still going to be a very, very good receiver, even if he does drop off a little bit. And the connection he's building with Stafford and being rejuvenated like he obviously is. This is a win. This is a win that bringing him on board. And I think this is going to turn out really well for the Rams. And Stafford and him, I think it could be really, really special.
I think he'd be special. And you know who else feels that way too? Davante Adams feels that way, as he said he feels right at home, as you can picture it here on YouTube. This is him at today's media day for the Rams, where they're taking promotional photos for commercials or content for SoFi Stadium on the big Oculus board, or material for ESPN LA, or material for anything media related that they're going to have to crank out content for. Here he is in his uniform. And I did tweak the edit on this. I did make the yellow a little bit darker, and I did remove the gradient in the patch. For all you classic Ram uniform truthers out there like myself, as long as we can get something like this in the near future with this current wardrobe that we have, I'll be happy. I'll take it. Darker yellow, no name tag patch, no gradients on the numbers, and then I'll shut up one day about the uniform. So anyway, if you're noticing that on YouTube, yes, your eyes do not deceive you. I did edit the uniform. But he looks great, Mark. I mean, rocking the Jordan cleats, the blue, white, and black. I'm sure he'll have plenty of cool-looking cleats, as he and Puka Nacua are sponsored by Nike's Jordan brand, where they'll have some pretty cool-looking cleats. I'm sure every other game they'll have something nice, as Devante with his time with the Packers, time with the Raiders, time with the Jets. He had very cool-looking Jordan cleats that were all themed with the team's colors, and he would wear different sets every other week. So we're going to see some cleat heat, I know people like to call it, but it's so cool seeing him in a Rams uniform, Mark.
Yeah, to me, it's like the word that comes to my mind is sleek. He looks like a beast, ready to go. And everything I hear coming out of camp associated with him is just so positive. He had that one interview where he is talking about, on some plays, as a receiver, you're going to get taken out of the play. The coverage isn't right for the route you're running. But with Matthew Stafford, you got to be ready. And sure enough, that it's happened in camp already. He's just, as Adams put it, he's a dog. He can get the ball to you in any situation, regardless of the coverage. You got to be ready. And Adams is just loving it.
I mean, Mark, these quotes that he had earlier talking to reporters, I mean, he feels rejuvenated. He said, because there is a dark cloud over the building. I mean, we know what places he's talking about. The Raiders dysfunction for my whole entire life. The Jets dysfunction for my entire life. And again, I'll be turning 30 soon. So my entire 30 years almost, those teams have had a lot of dark clouds over them, and he experienced them firsthand. And he talked about, like, everybody's in a good mood here at the facility. And I've experienced, the dark cloud over the building quite a bit over the last few years. So it's glaring difference when you come into a building like this. And obviously, yes, I'm alluding to the Raiders, alluding to the Jets. And he also talked about how it has like a college atmosphere, how everyone's, it's all about ball. Everyone's just happy to be there. It's like going out there and just practicing and trying to make plays, get each other better. And he said it's what he's needed, he said, at this point in his career. And I look at, if he doesn't get 1,000 yards and 8+ touchdowns minimum, it'll be a disappointment. I'm expecting big things from him. Again, if he's fully healthy, if Stafford's fully healthy, of course, the trigger man's got to be good to go as well. But I mean, if him and Nacua both don't have over 1,000 yards and over 8 touchdowns apiece, I mean, it'll be I don't want to say it's a failure, but it'll be like these guys are too good. It'll be a quote unquote failure in terms of production standpoint, right? Mark Rams Nation. I mean, sincerely.
Well, yeah, but let's consider, Terrence Ferguson, Tyler Higbee. We also want
Yeah,
them
I know, I
to.
know.
I'm trying to be, be optimistic that,
Be real.
we could see less production from someone like Puka, and we should still be okay with it, depending on how the ball gets shared and how these younger guys developing. So I'll have to see,
Yeah.
but I see where you're coming from. I would hope that they both have really really big years, but at the same time, I'm really hopeful for guys like Ferguson and even Higbee and Tutu and Jordan. And now they're talking. Well, I don't want to give away some of the stuff we're going to talk about in a minute, but there's some other guys that are starting to show signs of being contributors in the passing game. So, yeah, I guess the best case scenario would be I agree with you. Both those guys just having really big years.
Look at I need 1,000 yards for him, and I think that's easily doable. I mean, sincerely, like I think it's going to work out, but I'm expecting big things from him, and from everything we're hearing from reporters, our own reporters with the team, reporters like Jordan and others that work for other entities. I mean, everyone's saying like, yeah, Devante is legit still. Like he hasn't lost a step at all, and he's getting open. He's playing in the slot. He's playing out wide. I mean, he's going to line up everywhere, just like Nakua, just like Cuphead has done, and they're going to be like, we're going to get your ass open. And I don't know how secondary are going to defend us if everyone's healthy. Honestly, I
Yeah,
expect
and with that power running game to balance that too.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, this offense should be top 10 minimum. Like, if it's not top 10, another disappointment. Again, everyone's healthy. O-line's healthy. Everyone's available, of course. But we shall see. We shall see. As again, today was Rams Media Day, photo shoot, and here's Davante Adams. And there's other content out there with other players, but Davante officially in the Rams uniform in this edited photo that I have here on YouTube if you're tuning in. Shout out to all you uniform truthers out there. But another Rams player, Mark, that I think we're kind of forgetting about as a whole fan base a little bit. Not that we are doing it on purpose, but with the drafting of Terrence Ferguson and everyone being hyped about that and his potential, and McVay saying he's Travis Kelce-esque and all that, and everyone's like, whoa, 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 and that being obviously our first draft pick in this last 2025 draft. Tyler Higbee, though, Mark, he's looking to have an impactful 2025 as he talked to JB Long and DeMarco Farr with their official Rams podcast with the team, and how he mentioned that, hey, I'm one of the last Rams guys from, pre-McVay and, the one of the LA originals, as he was drafted in 2016, is the first year with LA Rams 2.0, I like to call it. And how, the injury sucked and how he felt he was apart from the team as he's rehabbing and he's on IR and physically unable to perform lists and all those different things. But how he feels great. He feels ready to go as he is entering the final year of his contract with the Rams. That is likely, unless he kills it, will be his last year. It feels like how the Rams do business. And he feels he's ready to make an impact and kick ass. A lot more 12 personnel, he believes, whether that would be with young Ferguson, the rookie, or it will be with Colby or Davis Allen. He said, this is the best tight end room I think I've ever been a part of, even though we're only in OTAs, he told JB Long. And hey, that's great. And I think
Yeah.
he might be right, honestly.
Yeah, it is a really good tight end room. I mean, when you figured if Davis Allen is your fourth guy, Colby Parkinson, he had his bad moments last year, but back to Higbee, I'm gonna have to tell you, this entire roster, I don't think there's anyone I'm rooting harder for. I don't think there's anyone that would. I don't think any player having a big moment in the playoff game would make me happier than if it were Tyler Higbee. There's just something about
Yeah,
it. Maybe it's the
me too.
fact that he's been around for so long and he's such a warrior and he's battled through some injuries, missed Super Bowls, and I'll be rooting for him. I want Terrence Ferguson to step up and have a great year. But I'd just like to see Tyler Higbee have a couple of really big moments this season.
We have pictured here, if you're on YouTube with us, his one of his final touchdowns of the 2019 season when he broke a bunch of Rams tight end records, yards for a tight end, touchdowns for a tight end in a single season. And he was really good that whole second half of that 2019 campaign, even though that was with the old playoff format where the Rams would have been the 7th seed if that was the case back in 2019, and the Rams would have been a dangerous team to play. We need that version of Tyler Higbee, healthy, catching a bunch of passes, running great routes, blocking well. If we can get 2019 version of Tyler Higbee, which when he's out there, I mean, we saw in the final couple games he played in this last season, the Viking game before he was coughing up blood from his lungs. Jesus. Luckily, he played the following game, catching touchdowns against the Eagles in the snow in the playoff game. Like, he is an impactful, fantastic starting tight end. So if he is healthy, no shoulder this, no knee that, no lung this, please, none of that. I mean, I expect him to have an impactful season. Now, will it be 800, 900 yards like it was in 2019? Probably not. We just talked about Devante and Puka, and then obviously Tutu, and we got a lot of football to be passed around with Matthew Stafford. So I don't expect the yard to be there, but will it be a, wow, what a clutch third down catch. Ooh, that tight end middle screen was fantastic. Oh, what a great block. Oh, what a great end zone, red zone touchdown. Like, I think he could have a fantastic year in that regard. And I'm expecting it if he is healthy, which is the biggest if. And like you said, we're going to get more 12 personnel with young Ferguson being drafted, with Colby, with young Davis Allen, who I think can play and, caught a touchdown in the playoffs against the Vikings too. So this good tight end room that he is alluding to and he thinks is the best in his Rams tenure since 2016, all these years, I expect him and this tight end room to have a really, really positive impact with getting yards and scoring some freaking touchdowns, Mark. I expect that.
Yeah, and like I say, I'm going to be pulling for them, and it'll be interesting to see how they deploy these tight ends. Do they go to 12 personnel? Do they go to 11 personnel? Is the 11 personnel tight end going to be more of a guy, and the 12 personnel two different tight? How they're going to mix it up remains to be seen. And by the way, is that Bobby Trees in the background? I think it is, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And
I miss
I
him.
miss that guy too.
Me too. I miss these uniforms, by the way, for all uniform truthers and the classic classic
Can't get you off the uniforms.
I know. I'm just willing it into existence. One day we'll maybe get a throwback game for a couple times a year, maybe next year and beyond. So that's all I ask for, Rams. Kevin Demoff, if you're listening, Kroenke family, somebody, just give me a couple times a year and I'll be happy. I'll be satisfied. But we need that version of Tyler Higbee 2019. And if we get any version of that, I mean, we should be, again, a top 10 offense minimum on top of the great young wide receivers that we have in our, established core with Puka and Devante.
And as we know, if we have a defense that's playing as we expect, like they did at the end of last year, that just gives our offense the ball even more.
I know. So, it's a tough schedule. There's a lot of games I'm worried about, but this team should be good on offense if everything goes according to plan health-wise. That's just my thoughts on that. So Tyler Higbee, a Rams legend, the best tight end in Rams history, I believe, as I think JB Long and DeMarco brought up, and I have no disagreement with that. He is. He's got records. No one else I can think of. Even the greatest show on turf era is all wide receivers and Marshall at running backs. Tyler Higbee's part of the all-time Rams team. Pretty dang cool. Let's go win a championship in his final year, most likely.
Yeah, it's not a position that the Rams can really brag a lot about. But Tyler Higbee is clearly the best.
Yeah, abso-freaking-lutely. So I'm rooting for you, Tyler. Let's get some touchdowns and win a Lombardi. Another one. I am excited. But speaking of other things with comments from players and coaches, and we'll spin back to McVay and what he said about when he was asked about, hey, cornerback from Packers is no longer with the team. Jair Alexander is free to sign with whoever. And he was asked, Sean McVay, about would that be something the Rams would be interested in? And McVay said, great player, respect to him, but we're not going to go in that direction. And anytime you hear that from McVay, speaking of McVay speak, and we'll all be professionals by the time McVay hits the 15-year mark of coaching. We'll all know his coach speak and all his little phrases. That means no, we're not signing him. No thanks. And it feels like to me, Mark and Rams Nation, that Rams are waiting for Dolphins to release Ramsey. I think that's the case. And again, shout out to the Rams brothers for hosting Jordan Rodriguez. And great episode. Please tune into their channel, their podcast, and listen to it. Jordan did allude to how everyone in the league feels like no way that relationship's going to be saved, and that waiting it out, waiting for that divorce to happen where the Dolphins would eventually release Ramsey, that would be the time for a team to strike and offer Ramsey a contract, as the asking price the Dolphins want is too high, and that the compensation with his current contract is also too high. So it's a double whammy that the Rams are not going to take on, and that a majority of the league is also not going to take on. So the Ramsey sweepstakes will come down, what it seems like, to Ramsey. Which team will he want to go to when it feels like his eventual release will come, probably sometime before training camp? As I think they'll go through minicamp, they'll go through the dead period before training camp, and then we'll probably see a Ramsey release if I had to guess. And if I had to bet some money, Rams Nation, I think he'll come back with us. And I think that's what the Rams are bigging on too, Mark.
Yeah, and their coach there is already getting a bit salty over the whole situation. He's
I know.
not. He hasn't shown up at the mandatory minicamp,
Yeah,
and yeah, I think I'd be really surprised if the Rams were not his first choice. I think it's pretty obvious they are. I'm not convinced that's a direction McVay wants to go. I mean, I just don't know. I would hope so.
yeah.
How he fits into this defense. I guess he would. You're pretty convinced? You think the Rams want to? You think it's mutual right now?
Absolutely. I mean, he would come on our team and immediately be our best corner. Now, we talked about it multiple times, and we'll talk about it quickly here again, though, Mark, Rams Nation. If you missed any of those past episodes in the last 2-3 weeks talking about Ramsey and all the updates, I think what would work out best would be he would be our outside corner when we're going base 3-4 defense, right? 3D tackles, 2 outside linebackers, 2 inside linebackers, 2 safeties, and then the 2 outside corners. He would be one of the guys which I think would be paired with Ahkello Witherspoon. Perfect, right? When we go into any other type of package where you need more DBs to defend the pass, then I think he should jump inside to that slot corner, or we like to call it the star position, which was a position we created just for him back in 2022, as he complained how isolated from the game he felt shadowing number 1 wide receivers, and how he felt he wasn't part of the action on the play-to-play basis, and how bored he was. So we made that position for him. And I feel like with his current skill set, it will work out beautifully. Keep Ahkello on the outside, keep either Darius and or Kobe Durant on the outside, as all those guys don't fit on the slot as a full-time basis. None of them do. None of them want to do it, by the way, anyway. Everyone talks about it. And then also, you can get Quinn Lake, who wants to play more traditional up-top safety. You can get him to play more of that, or maybe you want to put him as the dime linebacker, so forth and so forth. Again, this is a scenario where we got to see how it plays out, if he even rejoins us and all that. How does McCullough look? Does he improve? Does he not give up the dime spot? Is Quinn Lake better at the star slot more than he is at traditional safety now? I mean, there's all these different scenarios, of course, but that would be my ideal. Ramsey on the outside and base 3-4. And if we go nickel, dime, cheetah, all that stuff, get him in the star slot, let him be able to make tackles, make plays, get, batted passes down, interceptions. He's a playmaker in all aspects of the game. And I think him playing in that inside would lead to that. And look at guys, he is not a shutdown, let me lock you up number 1, corner / facing number 1 wide receiver guy anymore. He is not that Hall of Fame 2020 version of himself when we were the number 1 Rams defense and he was locking up number 1 wide receivers like no tomorrow. Like, those days are done. Do not expect that to be the case. Can he play some man? Sure. But to ask him and expect that as a fan base, that's unrealistic. The film doesn't lie. He's not that guy anymore. Let him play the slot. Let him play some outside traditional, and I think it would work out well.
Yeah, and the question I have in my mind is, can Quentin Lake bump Cameron Curl or Cam Kinchens out of a safety spot, but it doesn't really matter because it's all about, I think what you're getting at is versatility,
Yep.
flexibility on the back end. And if someone's going to get hurt, if someone's out a few games, not a big deal because you've got these guys that are that you can deploy in so many different ways. So
Yep.
it's a big, if nothing else, just a big insurance policy if anyone does get dinged up, because there's guys that can move around and play different spots.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, we have a good young group. Cameron Kitchens is impressing at OTAs. He's making one-handed interceptions at practice. I mean, he had a fantastic second half of the season after a rough first, weeks of his rookie campaign. We all love Quinn Lake, our captain. McCullough had a nice season playing the dime linebacker spot or the dime safety, and he was making interceptions every other game when he was playing. It felt like making tackles. Cameron Curl, once he got acclimated into his strong safety role, played some good football at the end of the year as well. Akello played good at the end of the year. So did Darius after he was fully getting healthy from the hamstring. Kobe Durant made fantastic plays in the playoff and in the end of the year. So we got a good group. Everyone likes to top crap and say this Rams secondary is so terrible. Or you hear insiders say, they need big upgrades there. They're not any good. Or you hear other football analysts say, the Rams defense sucks or they're ass. Or you see those comments by official people, and even our own fan base thinks they're not very good. I beg to differ. That second half of the season, and we broke down film here on this channel, they were playing good to great football, and they were saving our behinds, that defense as a whole as well, a lot. So adding Ramsey in is only going to boost it up, and I get it. Year to year is different. Every season, every game with a new group. Film is out on you, on players, another year of experience. It's all different. I understand that, but adding Ramsey would boost it. But this Rams secondary, if we don't get Ramsey, is not going to be some crappy group, everyone. Do not buy into that stock from PFF, other analysts, our own fan base. We watch film here on this channel. This defense, this secondary was playing pretty dang good football at the end of last year, and I expect that to be the case with another year with Chris Shula and this young group. But I hope Ramsey comes.
Yeah, and they had a knack for really big plays at big moments. You think about it,
Absolutely.
the Seahawk interception by Kinchens, Witherspoon's interception, timely plays. That, man, the Rams had a lot of really big plays last year, and that's a thing that, when a team starts making big plays like that on defense, it becomes contagious. It becomes part of your vibe, your culture, and
Yeah.
man, I expect to see a lot of that again this year.
Yep, I expect that, and I hope Ramsey's a part of it. But it feels like they're waiting for the Dolphins to do like what we do. We offer people for trade, right? In the past, Cooper Kupp, everyone's like, "Yeah, we're not trading for him on that contract. We'll wait to release." And I feel like the Rams are taking a book out of that play, or or a play out of that book. I said it backwards, and they're gonna do that same tactic, which I think is smart. And Ramsey is going to choose us unless someone blows him out of the water with a crazy contract. Then I could say take the money, but he never wanted to leave LA. So I feel like a reunion is inevitable if he stays firm and, fights his way to a release and getting cut by the Dolphins. So we shall see. We got a little bit wild till then. And if you didn't notice, shout out to the classic uniform on Ramsey with a little uniform edit here. Hopefully one day we do see Ramsey in this classic uniform again. And who knows?
Do you stay up till 2 a.m. doctoring Ram uniforms? Is that what
No,
you're doing?
no, like 10 minutes every now and then. Shout out to all the Photoshop technology. It makes it pretty easy. But who knows when he comes back? Is he going to be number 5? Is he going to buy 2 out? Is he going to return to 20, which I think would be kind of fun? Go back to his classic Rams number. And either way, I hope he's back. I hope he is back, Rams Nation. But another fun little news about what's going on in Rams land. The Rams sign a rookie, D lineman Desarius Hawthorne. And hopefully I said his first name correct. If I did not, apologies to him and anyone else with this name. And Hawthorne here is a rookie. He was with the Bills for their rookie minicamp, but Myanmar couldn't find any official release and or cut that he went through a transaction that he went through with the Bills. But here he is. Some more depth than, someone the Rams had an eye on, obviously, as there is a scouting department who is scouring the whole league. That's how we found Darius Williams. the first time, and he ended up being a fantastic corner, a Super Bowl winning corner for us. And other guys where it's like, hey, he's no longer there. He's on the waiver wire. He's getting cut. Let's bring him in and see what he's got. And Hawthorne was one of those guys, Mark.
Yeah, I'm assuming what happened is, right after the draft ends, the Rams get on the phone and try to get these guys in for undrafted free agents. And I'm guessing for whatever reason, he took the Bills offer. And when the Bills released him, I'm assuming that's what happened. The Rams were all over it. And just some background on him, he's 6'2", 290, spent 4 years at Florida Atlantic and then a final year at University of South Florida. And one note I did find on him, they said that he wasn't invited to the combine, but if he had been, his 40 time and vertical leap would have been in the top 20. At least that's what I found on one random site. Hopefully that's
Oh,
accurate. But
yeah.
yeah, I think he seems to be a mixture of a run stopper, but he can get after the quarterback. Had some 10 and a half tackles for a loss and two and a half sacks, I think, last year.
Yeah, that's right. At Florida Atlantic, that's where you played his college football.
Right.
So, hey, he led defensive tackles and total tackles and all that. So he can play some football. And this will be a guy to keep an eye on during the preseason, as yes, that is the showcase for young players, as how we do things here, with our team and the Rams. Any important player will see no action. All young guys will get some action, and I'm sure he'll get a lot of burn. And we'll see how he turns out. Maybe he's a surprise rotational D tackle that gets significant playing time and earns a spot on this roster, but we shall see. But as a signing of recent that the Rams made with Mr. Hawthorne here. So I wish him well, and we'll see how this next couple months works out for him. And hopefully no more traveling for him. He can stay with us for at least for the remaining couple months. I think that'd be nice on him for sure, Rams Nation. But other big news, and this isn't officially official from the Rams yet, but Cowboys insiders have reported that, yep, the Rams will visit the Cowboys up here in Oxnard, or up here, I'm out here in LA, but up in Oxnard for joint practices, as the Cowboys have been practicing in Oxnard, not too far away from even where the Rams practice, truthfully, out there in the Valley, for many, many years, as there was no LA team. And the NFL allowed Jerry Jones, and Jerry Jones, he's a smart businessman. Say what you want about him, but he can make some money. He was like, hey, let's go have my practice out in California and let's get a fan base out there. And he did one hell of a job. So that's part of their tradition. They will always practice out there. And it feels like as long as they will be out there practicing for training camp, we will continue to have joint practices. It just makes so much sense, Mark. We play them for preseason since they're out here for the game. And then why not just take a hour drive or so up to Oxnard from Thousand Oaks area, the Valley area, and get some good work in, which I feel like will be a tradition every year. It feels like, but confirmed, it's happening.
Yeah, and I think in years past, in the Jeff Fisher years, things got sideways a couple of times. But I think
Yeah.
McVay, yeah, I think McVay and his staff and I don't know, they got Brian Schottenheimer there. So
Yeah.
who knows? But we had a little dust up last year when the one Cowboy went after a Rams intern. That was the Cowboys, right? Yeah,
Yeah, but
and
they had a big brawl.
right,
Yeah.
right. And they handled it right. The Cowboys got rid of that guy real fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, you hop on the 101 there down the Camarillo grade, and before you know it, you're in
hmm
Oxnard. So that's not a short. That's just a little bus ride. Yeah, it makes sense. As long as these scrimmages, these team scrimmages can get sideways really fast, and as long as they keep that under control, good time because the rules are a little bit different for the. Remember what happened with Aaron Donald and the Bengals, and we were all afraid
I
he was
know.
going to get suspended for it. But I
I,
mean,
I thought so, honestly. Yeah.
yeah, you can almost get away with too much at these scrimmages, and that's what concerns me. But it's still good. I think the Rams use these scrimmages for evaluation, and actually more for getting their starters primed for the opener more than anything else. They obviously don't play in the preseason, so it's really important for the starters in the trenches, especially to get in to go up against a team like the Cowboys, ones versus ones for a couple of days.
It's perfect. And we'll emphasize this heavy now so you guys are all prepped on this. Like, look at mini camp training camp, there's a lot of great info that we'll gather from that. Players, how they look, how the offense is looking, who's getting, snaps with the first team, et cetera, et cetera. What are the packages, all that fun stuff. But what is key, because our starters don't play in preseason, how do they look and perform against other team starters in these controlled environments? 7-on-7, lineman versus lineman, pass rush situations, blocking, and obviously the team 11-on-11 stuff. Like, that's what we'll get the nitty gritty. That's how we'll know how this team is shaping up. Because yes, the preseason will be for the young guys, and that's exciting. But people get caught up like, oh, this guy, he should get this, or he looks so good here. It's like, yes, that's a separate evaluation for the young guys during the preseason games. But these joint practices are the closest we're going to get to seeing how this Rams team is actually going to look starting week 1 against the Houston Texans and beyond. So
yeah, that'll be the first time
we'll be reporting on this heavy, Mark, right? Yeah. I mean, we'll how those go.
Yeah, that'll be the first time where you either come away going, oh, we may have a problem here, or wow, we're in really good shape at this position.
And that's when, we got our info of like, hey, Jared Verse is pretty legit. He's kicking ass against the Cowboys last year and other joint practices, Houston and whatnot. We're like, hey, he's looking good. He's a legit first-round pick. And hey, Cooper Kupp is not getting as open. Is everything all right? I know he was a little banged up here and there too. Or, hey, who's stepping up because Nakua banged his knee up, right, when he got injured during practice, a year ago, and he, never really healed, and then he was out a lot longer than that, and so forth. It's like, how do these guys look in these joint practices? Who steps up and who doesn't? But I think it's a good time, Mark, to also mention about how are these rookies looking right now? Are these young rookies performing well, right? We got some news last week about Ferguson catching some touchdowns from Matthew Stafford in practice, but man, we got a good little nugget. Again, shout out to the Rams brothers, shout out to their podcast and Jordan's appearance with them this last week. And we'll have some other guys we'll talk about too, but she mentioned that Konate Munfield, our last pick in the 7th round, wide receiver from the University of Pittsburgh, she said, and other reporters have all agreed upon, like, this dude is a legit NFL player and he is making plays. And she mentioned that when Nakua was away and visiting his Polynesian heritage on the islands out there, and Jordan Whittington was getting action and reported he was looking good, that, Konata got a couple snaps and some limited action with the first team, and he was looking pretty legit too, they said. And that'll be someone, a rookie outside of Ferguson, who we're all excited for to look out for. And again, shout out to the Rams brothers for getting that info from Jordan. But oh baby, Rams wide receivers late in the draft. They find them, Mark.
Yeah, I was listening. I mentioned on the last podcast I did, the Saturday Morning Inspection, which is another YouTube channel I really like, and they were making some pretty valid comparisons between Mumfield and Puka as far as their pre-draft analysis and how experts felt about them. Not trying to compare them directly. Obviously, Puka came out with a stronger, a higher draft profile, but still a lot of similarities between the two and what the experts were saying about as far as their strengths and what they could bring to the NFL. So maybe we have Puka 2 here in Mumfield.
Like we talked about, this offense, there is no excuse for why this group should not be a top 10 offense if everyone's healthy. If Nakua has to go, has to miss time, or Devante, I expect Whittington and Tutu to step up and play good football. If other guys end up rotating in from all counts, and we'll see how Mumfield looks in preseason, as he'll be a guy that gets a lot of action, so we'll see how he looks. But if he's looking good with the first team now, I mean, that's a good sign. I expect him, if that continues, to be able to play just like how we had, a bunch of receivers play for us last year and all contribute to varying degrees. That's part of the Rams culture. That's all part of, Eric Yarber, our wide receiver coach's culture within that wide receiver room. He does a great job teaching them. He does a great job getting them ready and motivated. And most importantly, as you see, he always does a fun little kind of like jumpy boxing-esque kind of pregame, little warm up with all the receivers before any big practices or games and et cetera. And you can see that if you go to SoFi Stadium and see games, you'll see him with the wide receiver group. Everyone's got a nickname. And I'm sure he'll have one for Devante and all the young guys as well. Man, I'm excited to see that guy in preseason. Speaking of
Oh,
meaningful
yeah.
preseason action, that's going to be a guy I'm going to have my eyes on and say, hey, does that young Ram play good football with Stetson Bennett, who we'll see a bunch of too,
Right.
of course. But
Yeah. And
any other Rams rookie you're looking forward to seeing, or you've heard some good things about Mark outside of
not
Ferguson and
really, and
Mumfield?
that's the thing. I've heard a lot about Ferguson and a lot
Yeah,
about Mumpfield. I saw an
yeah.
article, someone proposing that Hunter could actually get some snaps this year as opposed to how Rams typically use rookie running backs. But out of the camp, maybe it's a little more difficult to for guys in the trenches and defensive players, linebackers, defensive linemen, and stuff to really elevate for on the practice field for to make it obvious to onlookers that hey, they're the real deal as opposed to a tight end and a wide receiver. So we may just have to be a little bit more patient to find out how guys like Pooh Paul and Ty Hamilton are doing, for example.
I know, man. We have we got Stewart at the edge, and we'll see what's going
Right.
on with him. Like, I'm sure with minicamp we'll hear a little bit more. Maybe we'll get a little more action from them and see. But I'm not too worried about it. Let's see how they look in preseason. Do they look like they belong? And then obviously when they get eventually these guys rotate in or start right with the inside linebacker crew, we'll see how it goes. As Nate Landman's getting the majority of first team reps, apparently, according to Chris Schill, which I'm comfortable with right now as well. Him and Omar. But we'll see. We'll see how this all turns out. And I am excited. Let's see Hunter.
Yeah.
I want to see what he looks like in minicamp. And then obviously when we get to training camp and beyond, we'll see how he looks as well. But Mumfield getting the early shout out with Ferguson.
Yeah.
The first pick
Nice.
in round 2, and then or our first pick round 2, and then our last pick in the draft in round 7. The offensive guys looking good. And, not a
Yeah.
shock with McVay's eye for talent on that side of the ball.
Good stuff.
Good stuff too. But I know, Mark, you wanted to shout out one last thing before we get out of here. Go
Oh
ahead.
yeah, it's such a contrast to Lil Wayne, but a lot of you old school guys have an appreciation for the leader of the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson, passed away today, and I know a lot of you younger people are like, "Come on, Beach Boys, are you kidding me?" But I'll have to tell you, do a little bit of studying on this guy. He was one of the most respected musicians of his era, of that generation. Even the Beatles worshiped this guy for his ability just to put together great music. I think his album, the Beach Boys album Pet Sounds, is considered to be groundbreaking, and the Beatles were blown away by it. And they may not be your thing, but they're SoCal legends and thought worth
Hawthorne
mentioning.
legend too, man. They're close by.
Yeah. Yeah, he
Yep.
was actually born in Inglewood and grew up in the Hawthorne area.
Mhm.
So Brian Wilson it's a big loss. I wasn't necessarily a giant Beach Boys fan, but as the years went by, I my appreciation for Brian Wilson especially really grew. The guys, there's some documentaries out there on him showing how he put together music and way ahead of his time. And so rip Brian Wilson.
R.I.P. man, an LA legend, and I'm sure the Rams will have some Beach Boys kind of like mixed songs. They do stuff like that, and that'd be kind of fun to hear at SoFi Stadium, and maybe some training camp as they have the DJs doing a lot of stuff there as well. But R.I.P. to an LA legend. Forever love good music, and he was a big part of that. R.I.P.
We
Brian
got
Wilson.
Lil Wayne and the Beach Boys on a Rams podcast. That's
Hey,
that's groundbreaking.
we're it's all part of the culture, baby. We got to keep it going. It's all Rams related somehow, some way. And obviously, Lil Wayne shutting out McVay. Check out his album for that reason alone. But man, oh man, Rams Nation, training camp not too far away, but mini camp in Hawaii, in Maui next week as the Rams will fly out. And McVay did allude to that there might be some players you'll see that are absent, but they're excused absences, as he mentioned. Hey, some players have some weddings to attend to with family or whatnot, or other big things. And again, the Maui Hawaii trip for mini camp for that little stretch of 4 or 5 day period wasn't super planned out for the players way back when. So if they had prior engagements they needed to attend to, McVay said they'll be excused. So he said there might be some guys you may not see, and I don't know if there'll be any star player or starter. We'll find out when we get there. I wish when the team gets there. And we'll see what happens. But I am excited to see how that turns out. And, shout out to all the local Hawaiians out there to see some NFL football. And we'll, hopefully get some more young Rams fans to grow with this team and grow the international Ram fan base, as I know the Rams want to do for sure. So we'll have the updates for you on that, Rams Nation. But let me know in the comment section, which Rams players are you the most excited to see either yourself at training camp whenever they release those dates or the joint practices? And is that a veteran? Is that Devante? Is that a rookie? Is that Ferguson? Is that Mumfield we talked about? Let me know in the comment section, which Ram are you most excited to see this upcoming training camp? Or if you're going to Hawaii as well, in Maui, let me know who you're trying to see and most excited to see. I definitely want to know, Rams Nation. But Mark, anything before we get out of here?
No, man, good episode, fun talk, and can't wait to see what happens in Maui.
Me too, man. It's just, guys, it's flown by so much, and I'm so excited. I will see you there at week 1 at SoFi Stadium, Rams Nation. I'll be there for that opening day game, I like to call it, Rams versus Texans. And that's a game I'll be worried about and stressed about. They have a good squad. CJ Stroud is throwing again. And get your tickets. Go out there and support your squad. Do what you can. I know they're not the cheapest, but I hope to see you guys out there as often as possible. But if you're here on YouTube, again, like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel. Helps out the algorithm with other Rams and football fans to see our content. And if you're on the podcast audio only side of things, share this podcast, share the audio only video with all your fellow Rams and football fans out there. Any of those options, we very much appreciate it. We'll keep you updated all throughout minicamp and the dead period. But never forget, baby, go Rams.